Hi, thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to be making screen printing using the following items. So you'll need an embroidery hoop, you can get those easily online. You'll need some organza, which is very thin material and you can see straight through it. And you'll need some glue, so PVA glue is ideal. And you'll need some paint. Now I've got white screen printing paint, but if you've got poster paint that should be fine, and if you've got acrylic or oils they should work just as fine as well. I've also got a bank card. That is so that I can scrape my paint over my design later on. And I've also just got a little bit of scrap material just to practice on, so I've just got a dusting rag for that. And that's all you need. So to start off with, I'm just going to cut a small piece of my organza and I'm going to put that inside of my hoop. So I'm just going to put that on top of there. Now it's really important that when I do this I pull my material really tight, like so. Okay, then I'm going to tighten that up so that it's very tight. And then it's ready to paint on. So to start off I'm going to need to draw my design onto the organza using pencil. To do that I'm just going to turn my hoop over so that my material is lying flat on the surface that I'm about to draw on. Now I'm just going to lay a piece of white card underneath so that you can see what I'm drawing. There we go. And with my pencil I'm just going to draw a design onto there, and I'm going to go for a geometric pattern. Okay. Okay, and with my geometric pattern I'm just going to make sure that it's really symmetrical because I want to create a repeating pattern. Okay. Now you can trace over things if you're not too confident with drawing. You can trace over images straight onto the organza and it will show through onto the page. Okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm just making sure I've got a really clear area to put my glue so that I can create a nice pattern. So all of the areas here that are quite thick, I'm going to cover all of those in glue, but I'm going to make sure that I leave some areas that aren't covered in glue so that I've got a nice pattern to print onto. Okay, so I'm just going to start putting the glue onto there. Now I need to turn my hoop over so that it's off the paper. Can you see that? And that way when I paint it doesn't stick onto the surface. Okay, I'm just going to glue all the way around my pattern. Really carefully, make sure there's no gaps. So you can do this with any pattern you like, anything at all. The last pattern that I did was a little bird, and I printed that onto a scarf. So if you've got a plain scarf handy that you want to print onto, then that would be a good place to start. Okay. There we go. Just making sure that there's no gaps, because we don't want the paint to go all the way through on some parts. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to finish this design off by putting our glue on the areas that we don't want the paint to go through. So we're basically blocking out areas that the screen print can't get through. And that way, at the moment, you're creating a negative. So you want whatever the image is to come out the reverse way. Now the last thing I need to do is just paint all the way around the edges, trying not to get the glue on the hoop. So all the way around, the edge, because we only want the paint to go through our design in the middle. Okay. I'm making sure that I go back and just fill in any dots that come through, because what you don't want to happen is for the paint to seep through the tiny little gaps. You just want it to pick out the pattern you've drawn. Okay. So I'm just making sure I go all the way around the outside now. Okay. And then when that's done, I'm just going to leave that to dry. And then hopefully when it's dry we'll have a finished template and we can do our screen printing. Okay, so when that's completely dry you should see that the whole design has gone completely transparent. Okay, and then what you need to do to print that onto material or paper is turn the hoop over, okay, so that this time your organza is directly onto the paper or onto the material. Now I've decided to print onto material, so I'm going to take my duster, I'm just going to put that there, and I'm going to put my template on top. Now I've chosen a duster because they're not very expensive and it doesn't really matter if I get it wrong, so it's a good piece of material to test out my template on. So I'm just going to take my paint. Now I have chosen to use a screen printing paint, you don't have to do that. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my card. Okay, now this is an old card, so I've just used a really old card that I don't need anymore. I'm just going to scrape some of the paint onto my card. Okay, and I'm just going to dab it onto one side like that. Okay, right. Now this is the important bit. I need to hold my hoop really still, and then I'm going to scrape the paint across the page really quite hard. Okay, and I'm going to move it across the page just like that. and we're just going to do it a couple more times to make sure that paint goes in there. Okay. Now with the excess, I'm just going to scrape that back into my pot. Alright. And then we're just going to see what it looks like. So I'm just going to take my screen off there like that, and there's my pattern. Now with the excess on your organza, you can wash that under the sink and reuse it. So I'm just going to go and wash that now so that I can reuse it and make another pattern. Right, so the next part you've got to do is, once you've washed off the excess from your pattern, all you have to do is lay it next to the other one. Okay, really gently so that you don't mix the paint. Now this time we're going to go from right to left. So I'm going to take my card, I'm going to get some paint again. Okay, there we are. I've got quite a bit of paint on my card. I'm just going to dab it on the right hand side this time because we don't want to ruin the other pattern that we've done. Okay. And once you've put enough paint over there, you're just going to scrape it across again, this time from the right to the left. And we're just going to stop where the pattern finishes because we don't want to spoil the other pattern. Just going to scrape all the excess off really hard and put the excess back into the pot. Okay. Now if you're doing this on paper, you might find that your poster paints work a little bit differently. So try not to mix your poster paints with water, you need them quite thick. Okay, then I'm going to peel my design off to reveal the next part of the pattern. Okay, and there you are, there's your repeating pattern. So if you want to create a repeating pattern like this, all you have to do is wash the pattern, the organza, in the sink so it's wet like so, and then you just dry it with a towel really gently. So let me get my towel. I'm just going to pat it really gently with my towel on both sides. Okay, and then I'm going to put that back into my hoop. So I need to separate that again. Put my pattern back on top. Put my hoop over there. Just pull that really tight. Okay. Then tighten that back up again. And each time you create the pattern, you just have to keep washing the paint off and starting again. Okay, so I've tightened that up now. It's really tight. I'm just going to place my organza and my hoop back onto my design right next to the other pattern. Really gently though. Okay. Then I'm going to take my card again, put plenty of paint down. So I've got a big scoop of paint there, look. Just going to dot it from right to left and drag it from right to left now, sorry. I'm just going to scrape some of the excess off there, and here we go. I'm going to drag that from right to left using my card. There we go. Just make sure you take off the paint that's left over. Okay, I'm going to scrape that into my paint tub so that I'm not wasting any paint. Then I'm just going to gently lift my hoop off the material again, and there's my other design. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video today. If you'd like to follow my videos, you can follow them on Miss Morton's YouTube channel, and have a good day. Bye.